Hello and welcome to the first month in review for the Urza's AI Discord. If you've been following the channel, you know that Urza's AI is a website where you can make AI-generated magic cards based off of limited input. Now, this video will be covering the July happenings on the Urza's AI Discord, a lovely community where you can share AI-generated cards and talk memes and interesting design concepts. This month, meaning last month, because July, this is August now. Last month, we saw a different AI generation website being shared on the Discord, mtgcardgenerator.com. This is not affiliated with Urza's AI, but it's a strong community. It's a nice place to share that kind of content where there aren't really a lot of other communities to do so, as far as I'm aware. So a lot got shared there as well. As we can see, this first card is one of such cards. Worth pointing out that Urza's AI cards have no art. The art generation was turned off, whereas MTG Card Generator still generates its own art. I don't know why I said still. It does generate its own art. Obviously, if you have qualms about AI-generated art, be prepared to see some in this. I did not generate any new cards for this video. I merely selected cards worth discussing from the Urza's AI Discord from July 2023. Let's get started. Aerith the Serene Scribe is a 2-mana, 2/2. Let me actually scroll down. 2-mana blue and white legendary creature bird. It is a 2/2 with first strike, flying, and ward 3. Creatures you control with bird or wizard in their subtype have hexproof, which I just think is very funny. Like, that's not how you would word it in real Magic, but it functions. Like, it checks out, right? Yeah, they do have bird or wizard in their subtype. Okay. In the Scrolls of Aerith, every secret of the skies can be found if only one can decipher her graceful phrases. Now, something interesting about mtgcardgenerator.com is that it includes this little write-up blurb. Not every card shared on the Discord includes this, but this is a sort of a weird, like, breakdown of how it works. Not works. It is text generated by AI trying to explain why it generated the card. So no one's actually saying, like, what the literal thought process was. But it is some fun little discussion points at very least. It's also worth pointing out that it is prompt-based forging, which... prompt-based generation, I suppose I should say. Which, you know, I don't know how much that matters. If you look at Urza's AI, generally we have a name, maybe mana cost, maybe power, maybe toughness, maybe type line. You have the potential to control as much or as little of that as you want to, and you can also put in some general phrases to be based off of. This generator seems to really look at the actual prompt given to it, and actually seems to be pretty interesting designs based off of those prompts. So, this card is a bird wizard, has a tribal ability, uses blue and white mana symbols exclusively, has first strike, flying, and ward 3. So a lot of stuff was forced into there, and as we saw, yeah, it's got flying, it's got ward 3. It just was like, okay, cool, I'll just do that. This card is designed to embody the essence of a powerful bird wizard. The combination of first strike, flying, and ward 3 make it a formidable force on the battlefield, capable of taking down any non-ward creature, sure, before it can retaliate. Additionally, the tribal ability grants hexproof to all creatures you control with bird or wizard in their subtype, ensuring their safety from targeted spells and abilities. Sure. We all know that birds never like to be bothered, especially by pesky spells and abilities, so Aerith the Serene Scribe swoops into action, effortlessly countering any such attempts. And if you thought you could outsmart her allies, well, they have her on speed dial and know all her secret tricks. Let me try that again. The last blurb in these little write-ups is always just like a weird fluff description thing. It's very silly. And if you thought you could outsmart her allies, well, they have her on speed dial and know all her secret tricks. So good luck trying to target them. There we go. Bountiful Harvest is a 5-mana green sorcery. Untap all lands you control. Add green to your mana pool for each land untapped this way. Nature's abundance knows no bounds. I think this card's really interesting. Like, if you have 5 mana to cast this, you're refunding the 5 and getting 5 every single time. A lot of times these untap effects aren't actually netting you any mana, but this one guarantees does net you mana because it's doing the 5 and then untapping lands as well, right? So it's doing both. I think that's really cool. It's not just going to pay for itself by untapping all the lands. It's also going to get you 5 mana or more. This could be absolutely nuts, and I think that's a really fun design. It's probably, too good, but whatever. That's not what we're here to discuss. We're here to discuss if it's too cool. Bountiful Harvest, the card Bountiful Harvest was generated in the prompt, uses multiple green mana symbols and untap multiple lands. Bountiful Harvest is designed to be a powerful ramp card in green. I don't know if it's really ramp, like it's giving you extra mana, but you have to already be at like 5, I don't know. It allows the player to untap all their lands, providing a significant boost to their available mana pool. We created Bountiful Harvest for those moments when the player realizes they forgot to untap their lands during their last untap step. This card lets them rectify their mistake and reap the bountiful rewards. Dang, I forgot to untap my land. Good thing I have a spell that does that. That's not how that works. Bunny Bombardment is a 3-mana red enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, create a 1/1 white bunny creature token. Sacrifice 3 bunnies. Bunny Bombardment deals 3 damage to any target. I just think that's fun. This is a fun little cute card. Look at it. Look at them all. Yeah. 1 a turn is fun, and then you can do something with them. I think that's cool. 3 mana, I don't know what the price of that should be, but I think that's cute. In the midst of war, the bunnies fight back with their adorable yet explosive wrath. Oh no, explosive bunnies. Bunny Bombardment. This card shows the power of fluffy bunnies and has a CMC of 4 or less. Bunny Bombardment showcases the immense power of fluffy bunnies by turning them into an explosive force. The card highlights the endearing nature of bunnies while demonstrating their unexpected strength on the battlefield. You know how bunnies are usually associated with being cute and harmless? Well, we decided to take that stereotype and turn it on its head by creating Bunny Bombardment. Who would have thought that fluffy bunnies could be so destructive? Sure, they may look cute and innocent, but beware the explosive power of bunnies. It's really good. Cabal Ritualist is a 3-mana green elf shaman. It is a 2/2 with when Cabal Ritualist enters the battlefield, add green for each creature you control. I think this is a fun design. I don't know if this exists already in Magic. I feel like it might. Like, at bare minimum, it's discounting once, which makes it like a 2/2 for 2, which is just a bear. But probably you're going to be able to get at least discount the entire cost. It's probably not going to ramp you a ton, but it is going to be like a cheap body. That's kind of cool. And if you do have a huge board, then great. I think that makes it kind of a decent like early game card and late game card. I think it seems kind of fun. The Forest... Let me get that in frame. The forest abounds with power, waiting to be harnessed. With my dark rituals and the strength of my cabal, we will tap into this raw energy. Bleh. I'm scrolling way too slow. Get on with it. There we go. This card uses the theme of Dark Ritual and Cabal Ritual, but is green instead, and depends on the number of creatures you control. So, yeah, I just literally did the thing they asked for it to do. I should say, I don't know who put the prompts in for each of these cards. These were taken from the Discord. I did not mind their names. I have sort of a uneasy opinion about, like, showing other people's stuff and crediting other people, in that, like, credit is good, but doxing is bad. So, if any of these cards seem cool, go check out the Discord, see the people there who shared them. They're a good group. On the other hand, these are just prompts, so being an AI-generated thing. It's not like I'm stealing someone's, like, writing or work or designs, so... I don't know. But, again, in this case, a lot of this is straight up what it says on the tin, right? They asked for this effect, and this is the effect that they got. The Cabal Ritualist explores the unique concept of combining green mana generation with darker themes of rituals and cabals. By tapping into the power of the creatures it controls, the Ritualist taps into the essence of the forest and channels it for their own use. After a long night of secret meetings and late-night snacks, the elves of the forest decided to spice up their traditional rituals. The Cabal Ritualist was born out of their desire to wear black robes and feel edgy while still harnessing the power of nature. Some of the other elves rolled their eyes at this idea, but the Ritualist persisted, determined to be the coolest elf in the Cabal. It's so stupid. Celestial Seraph is a 7-mana white angel with flying. Celestial Seraph's power and toughness are each equal to the number of angels you control. Whenever you cast an angel spell, create a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying. Wings of Hope, guide their righteous fury. So I think this card's kind of interesting in that, like, yeah, the number of angels you control is probably not going to be that big. This is a 7-mana card. But you're going to be getting twice as many... Once this hits the field, you can then, like, get even more angels. So maybe it could be interesting. It's expensive. You're going to want to, like, cheat this out somehow. So who cares if it costs 7 mana? Let's assume we cheat this out. I think that sounds like a fun top end for an angels deck. Maybe it's not actually that good. Maybe it'll be a 2/2 and you'll be like, great. Why'd I even do this? Celestial Seraph. Make a card with high converted mana cost that shares about the number of angels you have. That says cares. Let me try that again. With high converted mana cost that cares about the number of angels you have. Celestial Seraph was created to showcase the theme of building a powerful army of angels. Its high converted mana cost and variable power and toughness make it a versatile creature that scales with the number of angels on your side of the battlefield. Its ability to create additional angel tokens whenever you cast an angel spell promotes a token-focused strategy, allowing players to amass an even larger force of divine beings. Celestial Seraph was created by someone who watched too many choir performances and always wished they were accompanied by an actual angelic choir. Naturally, they decided to design a card that will fulfill this longing. Now every time you cast an angel, a heavenly choir appears to sing your praises and create more beautiful music, or rather, angel tokens. That's so silly. Ooh, Chaos Incarnate is a 6-mana, blue and red legendary creature god. It is a 4/4 with whenever Chaos Incarnate deals combat damage to a player, choose one. Create a token that's a copy of target permanent. Its controller sacrifices the original. Oh, that's cool, actually. Huh. They'd have to, like... I'm not sure how this would be worded in real Magic, because, like... It would be worded differently, but you understand the idea. That's cool. Or, target player exiles the top X cards of their library, where X is the number of cards in your hand. Okay, cool, sure. That could be an interesting mill effect, I guess. Or, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste until end of turn. Huh. There is no order without chaos, and no chaos without order. I suppose so. For 6 mana, huh? I kind of like it. That's a fun... It's not an ETB, it's a Dawn deals damage, so... Yeah. Uncertain whether or not that would work, because it would have to stick, and then it would have to actually deal combat. Yeah, okay. Colossal Ascendant is a 6-mana green dinosaur with trample. It is a 10/10. Whenever Colossal Ascendant attacks, you may reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, put it onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking, it gains haste until end of turn. So the last part, it doesn't really need to gain haste unless you're, I don't know, getting extra combat steps or something, because it's already tapped and attacking. But that's pretty cool. Just a big old dinosaur. Big old dinosaur that finds you another dinosaur and has it immediately attack. It doesn't have to be a dinosaur. And it's only the top card, and it has to be a creature. It's not like look at the top 3 and put one of those creatures or anything, so it could definitely whiff. It's going to whiff most of the time, probably. A behemoth awakened, rising from the depths to rule the battlefield. Colossal Tyrannosaurus is a 7-mana green 9/9 dinosaur with trample. When Colossal Tyrannosaurus enters the battlefield, put 3+1/+1 encounters on it for each land you control. Wait. Okay, that's a lot of mana, and it doesn't have haste, but... Okay. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may have Colossal Tyrannosaurus fight target creature and opponent controls. Okay. So, even if this gets removed, you're still gonna, like, kill a thing the turn it comes into play if you... Well, not necessarily. If you, like, have, 7 mana, then you don't get to land drop that same turn, probably, but if you have, like, 7 mana and you haven't played a land yet this turn, you could immediately cause it to fight. That's a cool fight trigger. Landfall for fight, that seems really good, because fight is a green mechanic, and then, like, landfall is a green mechanic. Landfall's not exclusively green, but, like, it's common in green. I like that. That seems fun. It roams the lands, instilling fear in the hearts of its enemies, and claiming victory with every imposing footstep. That thing is huge. Cosmic Snatch Thief is an 8-mana black creature spirit. It's a 5/5 with 6 mana and tap. Swap Cosmic Snatch Thief with target permanent you don't control until Cosmic Snatch Thief leaves the battlefield. At the beginning of your end step, if Cosmic Snatch Thief is still on the battlefield, lose life equal to its converted mana cost. Huh. So, I think this is saying, like, first you gotta play it, and it's like 6 mana, so, like, blah. And then you have a 5/5. And then, it'll move to your end step, even though that's the same, like, line, right? Like, there's no line break between those abilities, so I think technically speaking, they would all be one ability, but I don't think it's supposed to be, so let's just say it hits you for 6 every turn. That's pretty big, but if you can swap it with something, which the terminology I don't think is swap, I think it's exchange control, but that's fine, like, we know what it means. If you exchange control of it with another creature, or another permanent, could even be a land, then that controller will instead be taking 6 damage a turn. And then if it dies, the switch goes back. So if they sacrifice it, or they block and they die, or something, or it attacks you and you block and to kill it, then they will get their permanent back. This card's cool. I like the design of this. It's like too expensive probably, but it's a really interesting design. Some spirits are known for filching keys or sweets. This one, on the other hand, ... Oh my. Crimson Ritualist. You'll notice that we haven't seen any actual Urza's AI cards yet. There are some in here, don't get me wrong. Crimson Ritualist is a 1-mana red human shaman. It has tap, sacrifice a mountain, add red to your mana pool. Spend this mana only to cast instant or sorcery spells. It also has Retrace, which I believe is not the way Retrace actually works. It says, discard a card, then exile this card from your graveyard. Add red to your mana pool. Spend this mana only to cast instant and sorcery spells. It's otherwise a 1/1. I really like the design of this. Not only is it just really cool to, like, sack a mountain to make mana, I think that's really fun. Probably just, like, explosively powerful, because you can tap the mountain, then sack the mountain, then make 3, so you have like 4 mana there, like, blah. Really good, but very cool. And then it's got this ability where from the graveyard you can discard a card and exile this to just get that effect 1 time. I don't know, I think it's really cool. And of course, even though it's a huge amount of mana, it is limited in how you can cast it. So I don't know if this card's fair or not, but it's a really cool design. Like, that's my favorite part of it, AI Magic, is just seeing things and going, oh, that's cool. You could make a real card out of that. With the lure of forbidden powers, her crimson rituals bring flames that refuse to be extinguished. Well, let's see what the AI has to say about this. Crimson Ritualist Create a card that uses the theme of Dark Ritual and Cabal Ritualist. Oh, this was probably made by the same person that made the Cabal Ritualist that we saw earlier. But it's red instead and has Retrace. Oh. So they wanted it to have Retrace, and it just made up an ability that they called Retrace. Amazing. The Crimson Ritualist is a red variant of Dark Ritual and Cabal Ritual. It provides red mana instead, in line with the color pie identity of red. The card's ability to add multiple red mana ties to the theme of rituals and the explosive nature of red mana spells. The Crimson Ritualist is a thrill-seeking mage who doesn't believe in playing it safe. Who needs to carefully sculpt their mana when you can throw caution to the wind and summon an inferno? Yeah, that's a red player, alright. Death Pit Arena is a 4-mana black enchantment. This is our first actual Urza AI card. It is an enchantment with, at the beginning of combat on your turn, you may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. If you do, creatures you control gain hexproof until end of turn. Wow. Okay, that's really cool. So, how much was it? 4 mana? 4 mana. And then, if you play it before combat, it's immediately getting value, cheating out the biggest thing in your hand. That big thing doesn't get like haste or anything, doesn't attack that turn. It just, you just get to play it for free, and it just happens to be during combat. Whatever. And then, as long as you had a creature in your hand, you had something you were willing to put into play with this trigger, all of your creatures gain hexproof. This seems like really fun. It's busted, but like it's also like kind of interesting. If they put like a mana cost like limitation on this card, I think it would be really cool. Like if it couldn't cheat out huge things, like only cheat out like 3 mana or less or 4 mana or less or something. This card would be really interesting. Because yes, it's repeated value, like it's going to stick around and get like a lot of value, but if you don't have enough card draw, your hand, you're not going to be able to get that hexproof bonus. Yeah, I think I'd like to see this where it was like 3 or less, or maybe 2 or less mana value creature. This card's cool, I like it. The pit's true purpose is to keep chaos at bay. Weird. Delve Keeper Mirror is a 3 mana blue artifact creature mirror. When Delve Keeper Mirror enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 blue mirror artifact creature tokens. So it's fun. It's a guy. It's a 1/1. It makes 2 more 1/1s. Love it. How much was it? Was it 2? It was 3. So 3 mana for 3 1/1s. That's fine. That's perfectly reasonable. And then for blue and sacrifice 2 mirror. Oh wow, there's 2 right here. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. So it's kind of an expensive way of bouncing something, but if you had just like a million disposable mirror from other effects, not specifically this one, that's 1 blue to bounce a creature, or bounce a permanent even. Could be good. Could be really good. I like it. Looks like a fun mirror deck. To bring my own corpse to my family, I needed help. I'd follow you anywhere. Okay, I didn't follow that. Dovahkiin, Dragonborn Aspect. Okay, this one I didn't save as high a scale, so bear with me here. Dovahkiin, Dragonborn Aspect is a 6 mana, red and white legendary creature, human warrior. It is a 4/4 with red and white, tap, exile a dragon creature card from your graveyard. That's all the cost. Dovahkiin Dragonborn Aspect gains all abilities of the exiled card. This effect lasts indefinitely. It also has the ability, Sacrifice a Dragon. Dovahkiin Dragonborn Aspect gains Indestructible and Double Strike until end of turn. This seems really good. It's like, this might even be fair. Like, it's a cool way of, like, using the power of your dragons that you have in the graveyard, like, consuming their power and becoming them. I don't know, I think it's really cool. I am Dragonborn. By my honor, I'll do my duty to the last. Cool. What does the AI have to say about it? Dovahkiin Dragonborn Aspect is a card inspired by the Dragonborn from Skyrim. Dovahkiin Dragonborn Aspect is designed to express the flavor of a Skyrim Dragonborn, who are known to absorb the souls of dragons to enhance their own power. He sacrifices dragons to gain temporary benefits and can permanently absorb their abilities from the graveyard. Relying on his courage and strength. I don't know what that last bit is about courage and strength, but whatever. I don't know, it's really cool. Like, there are already cards that can, like, gain abilities of cards from the graveyard, but it's cool. It does say, like, all abilities, which is a little bit vague, but whatever, who cares? Ever wondered what it's like when your Dragonborn mate shouts in the middle of an MTG game? Nope, they won't summon dragons. They'll just be yelling really loudly and taking on dragon abilities. Well, okay. Sure. Dreamweaver's Infinity is a 3-mana blue, white, and red legendary enchantment. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know it. Have the other enchantments made by MTG Card Generator had the, like, null value for their power and toughness? I hadn't seen that before. That's funny. Whenever you cast a spell, you may play another... Someone screenshotted their own cursor, I just noticed. Okay. Whenever you cast a spell, you may play another spell from your hand without paying its mana cost. This card just goes infinite, right? Like, if you cast a spell, playing a spell from your hand without paying its mana cost is casting a spell. So, yeah. It is a May ability, so this is just ridiculously infinite. It's just ridiculously infinite. Which, honestly, if you tell the MTG Card Generator to make an infinite effect, it probably just will. Let's see what it has to say. In the realm of dreams and boundaries, reality cease to exist. Make a card that embodies the concepts of infinity and dreams. It's multicolored and lets you play cards for free. Dreamweaver's Infinity embodies the concepts of infinity and dreams by allowing players to cast spells for free, representing the endless possibilities and boundless imagination found within the realm of dreams. We wanted to create a card that makes you feel like you're in an infinite dream, where everything is free and the rules don't matter. So go ahead, cast every spell you've ever dreamed of without worrying about those pesky mana costs. Amazing. What a ridiculous... Okay. Elderwood Bloodsucker is a 11 mana green vampire? Oh, I guess it was Elderwood Bloodsucker. I guess that makes sense. It's an 8/8 with trample. When Elderwood Bloodsucker enters the battlefield, if you have at least 10 life more than your starting life total, you gain control of all creatures your opponents control with power 4 or less. Whenever a creature controlled by an opponent dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Elderwood Bloodsucker. This is interesting. This, like, very expensive, highly specific conditional effect that then lets you just take control of everything, like all creatures. It's pretty cool. The fact that it is power 4 or less, it's not every creature, but it's most. Like, it's most creatures. That's... I don't know, I think it's pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool right there. Yeah, and then it also has this whenever a creature controlled by an opponent dies. So it steals everything, and then anything remaining, once those die, you get more counters. I don't know. It's interesting. In the depths of the ancient forest lies an insatiable hunger. Empty Bucket! Empty Bucket is a 2-mana blue enchantment aura. Okay, it just says whenever enchanted artifact is tapped. Let's assume it says enchant artifact. Whenever enchanted artifact is tapped for mana, put a charge counter on it. At the beginning of your upkeep, if Empty Bucket has 5 or more charge counters on it, I guess they meant put a charge counter on Empty Bucket. It says it, which would be the artifact, but whatever. At the beginning of your upkeep, if Empty Bucket has 5 or more charge counters on it, you may remove all those charge counters from it. That's it. Okay, yeah. Yeah, that's it. Okay. This doesn't do anything. It's been 3 years since that fateful night, but the memory of those who died still haunts her dreams. Oh, that got way too real for a card called Empty Bucket that doesn't do anything. Flip Frenzy is a 5-mana chase. What? Flip Frenzy is a 5-mana red sorcery. Flip Frenzy flips 10 coins. That's not really the way you'd structure that. You'd just say, like, flip 10 coins, but sure, whatever. For each coin flipped, deal 2 damage to target creature or player for each heads, and gain 2 life for each tails. Okay, so if we assume 50-50, that's deal 10 damage to target creature or player, and gain 10 life. For 5 mana. And I assume that you can split it up. For each coin flipped, deal 2 damage to target creature or player for each heads. So if I wanted to, I could be like 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Maybe? I'm not entirely sure. I think probably. Chaos reigns as the coins take flight, deciding fates with every flip. That is interesting. Just flip 10 coins. Harbinger of the Dread Horde is a 7-mana white angel. Oh, we got another angel. It has flying, it has trample. I have to stop doing that. My mouse sometimes double clicks, and that's what's causing that. Flying and trample, when Harbinger of the Dread Horde enters the battlefield, each player's life total becomes 3, and those players lose 3 life. Okay, just everybody dies. Just everybody dies. Okay. Great. For white, target creature you control gets +3/+3 until end of turn. You know, if the game's not over yet. I mean, this is the kind of effect that you play and then you, like, Teferi's protection in response to your own trigger or something. Yeah. It's also a 5/5. I didn't mention that part. It brings hope and fear. Struel the Insatiable. Harpy Feather Ritual is a 5-mana black enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a ritual counter on Harpy Feather Ritual. Then, for each ritual counter on Harpy Feather Ritual, put a +1/+1 counter on target Harpy creature that you control. When that creature attacks this turn, it gains flying until end of turn. So, So if your Harpies don't already have flying, which they probably do, you can give them flying temporarily. That's cool. But it says, for each ritual counter, put a +1 counter on target Harpy creature. So you can distribute those, I assume, right? It's not like put X +1/+1 counters on target Harpy, where X is the number of ritual counters. It's for each ritual counter, do this once. Right? Yeah, I'm right. The Nocturnal Rites. Harpies adorn each other's feathers In Nocturnal Rites, Harpies adorn each other's feathers with enchanting colors that resonate with dark magic. This is cool. I like this design. How much mana was this? 5 mana, and then beginning of your upkeep. So it's 5 mana, do nothing, and then on your upkeep, it gets 1 counter, and it adds a +1 counter to a Harpy. Then next turn, it adds a counter and adds 2 +1/+1 counters to your Harpies. Then 3, then 4. If this was cheaper, this could be really good. At 5 mana, it's probably not fast enough. Yeah. Cool design. It actually kind of reminds me of, like, old school bird cards, where it's like, all your birds have +1/+1 per feather counter on this. And it gains a feather counter, like, when birds die. Yeah. What a cool card that is. Harpy Feather Ritual. This card was Harpy Feather Ritual. It depicts a ritual among Harpy where their feathers get painted. That kind of got lost, it sounds like. The card is designed to replicate the described ritual among Harpies by adding ritual counters that empower Harpies. For each turn, the enchantment stays on the field. The addition of flying to the mix, a key characteristic of Harpies, gives a mechanical impact to the feather painting aspect. Does it? Sure. Maximum body art level achieved. Harpies now swoop out of the night sky with painted wings, leaving terrified victims thinking, well, at least their fashion sense is killer. So what's funny about this is that the initial request was about the, like, feathers being painted, and that's not, like, clear at all. There is a thing here in the flavor text about, like, harpies adorning each other's feathers with enchanting colors, but, like, that's it. There's way more about the feathers and the paint down here and in the, like, explanation blurb. I saw somebody on the Discord describing these as, like, the extra flavor text. It's very funny. Illegal relationships. That doesn't sound good. Illegal relationships is a 3-mana red, green, and white legendary creature rhino. Sure. It's a 2/2 with haste. Illegal relationships enters the battlefield with a number of +1/+1 counters on it equal to the number of colors of mana spent to cast it. So it was a 3-mana spell, unless you somehow are being asked to, like, pay 1 extra for your spells. It's going to be 3. So it's always going to be 3. Remove a +1/+1 counter from illegal relationships as a cost. Creatures you control get +2/+2 until end of turn. Oh! This is like a pretty decent finisher, right? If you have a decently sized board, you play this for 3, then immediately remove all 3 counters, which buffs your entire board with +6/+6, and itself, like including itself. So it's an 8/8, and it has haste. Yeah. Yeah, it's really good. Even if you don't remove any counters, though, it's still like a 5/5 for 3 with haste, right? It is 3 colors, so that actually might be a reasonable. Why is it called Illegal Relationships and is a rhino? Those involved say the rewards of one-night stands aren't worth the pain. Oh. This card is a mess. This card is an absolute mess. I'm a healer, but is a 2-mana green instant. As an additional cost to cast the spell, discard a card. Choose a creature card in your hand. When you do, put that card into your hand. This does nothing. You can discard a card. It's 2-mana discard a card. I like the name, though. The idea of spells that are like, I'm a healer, but that's a good naming convention for spells. They should do that. It reminds me of, like, you come to a river or whatever, right? But it's, I'm a healer, but that'd be fun for, like, target cleric, like, kills somebody or something. Yeah. Target cleric fights. People say that I'm kind. I don't know what that means. Alright, fair enough. Moving on. Ivory Lotus is a 4-mana artifact. Come on, stop. Okay. It has tap, spelt out. Add 3 white mana to your mana pool. Is this fair? I think... What's Thran Dynamo? Like, 4-mana artifact, tap, add 3 mana exists, right? I think it adds colorless, generally, so this is probably a bit pushed. But, like, not too pushed. It's not like it's mana of any color. It's only white. I don't know. Interesting. Also, I notice it doesn't use the mana symbol, which is funny, but it would be, like, white color identity. Like, you have to assume how a card would be errated, right? Like, if this was a real card that was printed in, like, you know, the past, and then it got oracled, it would be oracled to tap symbol, add, white, 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 right? Like, yeah. From a single lotus, a symphony of miracles. Ooh, it's got a description. Ivory Lotus. The card Ivory Lotus was generated with the prompt, a card that is an artifact, adding multiple white mana to the mana pool. Yeah, that's what it did. I don't know who I is, I created Ivory Lotus as a powerful mana source for white-based decks. It provides 3 white mana, which can be a game changer in the early turns, and allow for big, splashy plays. The Ivory Lotus was grown by a mystical unicorn using secret mana fertilizer. Okay. Its petals shine with divine light, causing the nearby fairies to frolic and salsa dance. Okay. But beware, because if eaten by a squirrel, it grants them the ability to talk to teapots. Yeah, it's like, none of that's in the card. Like, none of that's in the card. That's just a thing you decided. This reminds me of, like, a set comes out and you can sort of piece together the story based on the flavor text, but you're never going to get all the details that are in the, like, accompanying, fiction that they release. The story. The official story. Yeah. So silly. Jalapeno Sorcerer is a 8-mana red human wizard. When Jalapeno Sorcerer, enters the battlefield, choose target creature. Jalapeno Sorcerer deals damage to that creature equal to the number of jalapeno peppers you have eaten in the last hour. This is a perfect uncard. This is exactly how they would design an uncard. They'd be like, yeah. If you're willing to eat a whole bunch of jalapenos, then your card's better. Get wrecked. Like, this is exactly what an uncard is designed like. I don't know if that was the intent or not, but it is perfectly an uncard. Spicy spells, I've got them all. It's a 5/5 also, which is pretty cool. It is 8 though. Like, it's 8 mana ETB. Kill something if you've eaten jalapenos. It's like, it's not good. It's funny. I mean, there are cards that like ETB blow something up. It's a 5/5. Like that's pretty reasonable, like, stat line. Don't get me wrong, but you have to eat a bunch of jalapenos. Judgment of Duty is a 3 mana white enchantment aura. A lot of enchantments this month. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2, has vigilance, and is a cat in every way. I mean, there's precedent for artifacts or like enchantments or equipment which change something's type. Like that's a thing that exists. So like, Judgment of Duty is a 3 mana and it makes them a cat. Really, this just makes them a cat, but they're a cat in every way is so funny. May I suggest you get a few more on the go? What? May I suggest you get a few more on the go? It would do wonders for your skin condition. Agent Melchoth, Lich to her dream. What? Sure. Yeah. Karn the Weathered One is a 5 mana colorless legendary artifact creature something. Karn, no. 5/5 trample. When Karn the Weathered One enters the battlefield, you may exile a target permanent. If a permanent exiled by Karn the Weathered One would leave the battlefield, exile it instead. Sure, cool. It's a 5 mana 5/5 trample that exiles something when ATBs. It's not bad. Ages of existence have left him weary, yet his touch remains powerful. Lawnmower of Doom is a 4 mana colorless artifact creature construct. It is a 2/1 with tap, destroy target non-basic land. Oh, that's actually kind of perfect. It's the Lawnmower of Doom. It'll destroy your non-basic lands. The fact that it is a creature is definitely a downside here. I think that's kind of fun though. It implies it's just like just driving around on its own. Yeah. It will serve us right if it brings us down. Gerard of the Weatherlight. So like, we see this thing and we're like, that, you know what? We deserve it if we lose to this lawnmower. Great. Amazing. Lord Daima's the Unsettler is a 10 mana black legendary creature zombie lord. It is a 5/5 with, for 8 mana and tap, not 8, 10, the same cost of the actual creature, Darcy. Come on. 10 mana and tap, choose a card from your opponent's graveyard. Each player must passionately reenact the art of that card. The player with the least convincing performance loses half their life rounded up. It's another perfect uncard. That's so funny. Passionately reenacting the art of a card is such a... That's exactly what they would do in an unset. It's like the card from Infinity where you post a closet cosplay of a card on Twitter or on social media, I should say. And then you can show a response and be like, this is the card I'm going to tutor for from my sideboard or whatever, from outside the game. That's so funny. Is it just me? Or is Daima's enjoying this a bit too much? What does the AI have to say about this card? Because this is a lot. I mean, it's so expensive. It doesn't matter, but it's very funny. Lord Daima's the Unsettler. Make a card that has a high black mana cost and that has a funny, strange, weird, or unique effect. Alright, cool. This card was designed with a high black mana cost to fulfill the user's request. Fair enough. Yeah, okay. The effect, a personal favorite, adds a goofy social aspect to a game of Magic the Gathering. In addition to being comical, the effect also has a strategic implications. Which card art would be most difficult for your opponent to replicate? In terms of game design, the effect speeds up the game because it potentially halves each player's life each turn. No, that's not... Wait. The player with the least convincing performance loses half their life rounded up. So first of all, I didn't actually mention this, but we don't know how we determine who is the least. I guess all players must collectively agree. Probably if this was an uncard, they would use the outside assistance mechanic that unsets use, right? Where they have a player, a person outside of the game decides who is the least performing. But it's each player, not each opponent. This can wreck you, right? What's interesting, if this was each opponent, not each player, then it would guaranteed, because it doesn't care who has the best performance, it just cares who has the least convincing performance. So it would always lose their life if they were the only player in the game. If it was a 2-player game, yeah. Anyway, point being is, it's not going to half every player's life. It can only half one player's life. Because nothing's funnier than forcing your opponents to lose half their life after an embarrassing performance. And yes, the super stoic face of Keeper of the Dead does count as an actual attempt. What? What's the super stoic face of Keeper of the Dead? I hope somebody made that card. What the? I don't remember that one. Luminara, Eternity's Sustainer, is a 6-mana white legendary creature vampire. It is a 4/4 with flying. Whenever a creature you control attacks, you gain 2 life for each attacking creature. Whenever a creature you control blocks, you gain 2 life for each blocking creature. So, wait, does this mean, if I have 3 creatures and they all attack, one says, I'm going to gain 2 life 3 times, 1 for each creature, so 6. And then the next one's also going to say that you gain 6, and then the third one's also going to say you gain 6? I think so. Each creature is going to trigger whenever a creature you control attacks. And it counts all attacking creatures. That could get out of hand. With each life taken, Luminara's essence grows stronger, her body becoming a conduit for eternal vitality. Luminary of Dusk, which looks very similar, is a 4-mana white vampire cleric. I think this might have been made by the same, in the same batch of cards, by the same person with a similar prompt. It is a 2/4 with flying. Whenever a creature you control dies, you gain life equal to its toughness. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you gained 5 or more life this turn, create a 1/1 white vampire creature token with lifelink. Cool. That's fun. Yeah. Creature you control dies, you gain life. If you gain 5 life, you make a 1/1. That's kind of a steep cost to making a 1/1, but then that 1/1 has lifelink, so that's going to help you get more life for next turn. I'm into it. In the face... Oh, wait. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you gained 5 or more life. Never mind. This is useless. There's, no window where that works, right? No. No, there isn't. Yeah. That doesn't do anything. In the face of darkness, the rays of a single candle can hold tremendous power. Mischievous Cherub is a 1-mana white creature angel. Aw, baby angel. Aw, baby angels should totally be in the game. I don't think I've ever seen that. I mean, it's always weird when you put babies into a game of combat, but, they're angels. It's fine. Don't worry about it. They're angels. Just, that's a cool way of having a small angel is what I mean. A 1/1 angel. Creature, angel, tap, sacrifice Mischievous Cherub. Choose a non-land permanent you don't control. Its owner shuffles it into their library, then reveals cards from the top of their library until a card with the same name is revealed. That player puts that card onto the battlefield, then shuffles their library. So this is basically a flicker effect with more steps. Right? Yeah. Yeah, it's a flicker effect with more steps. This is stupid. I mean, I guess it reveals the cards from the top of the library, so you get to, see their library, but, that's kind of cool. Honestly, I think we need more, flicker your opponent's thing effects. We don't see those very often, because they're generally, it's good to flicker your stuff. You get your ETB again. But if you're targeting something that doesn't have an ETB, you make all the, equipment and enchantments and counters fall off of it. If you can do it at instant speed, it stops attacking. I think there's value in that. A 1-mana 1/1 that sacrifices itself to do that one time probably is not worth it, though. It takes, then it gives. Except what it gives is often not what you want. Mystical Mayhem is a 3-mana blue enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, flip a coin. If you win the flip, create a 1/1 colorless fairy creature token with flying. If you lose the flip, you may sacrifice a land. If you do, create 3 1/1 colorless insect creature tokens with haste. When things go awry, sometimes they go delightfully awry. I like this card a lot. 3 mana to put into play, not too expensive if you are in mono blue. It's pretty expensive otherwise. But 3 mana to get into play, and then every turn, half of the time you make a 1/1 with flying. That's not bad. I'll take that. It is the beginning of your upkeep. It should be clear when I say every turn, I mean every one of your turns. But if you fail the flip, you get a choice. You can sack a land to make 3 1/1s. Oh. I think that's really fun. I would love to see more things that have a coin flip where there are 2 options you're deciding between, not getting something or not getting something. Because most flip a coin effects are you either get something half the time, as opposed to you get one of 2 different things, which I would like to see that more. Weirdly enough, we've seen that more often in dice. If we look at Unfinity, Clown Car, for example, is roll a bunch of d6s, and then for even results do one thing, for odd results do another thing. There's a few in that set that use that mechanic, and cool. I like those effects, but it's weird that we're seeing that more often on dice than on coins. Because coins actually are, binary between 2 options. Or even if you just look at, Forgotten Realms cards, D&D cards that have roll a d20, a lot of them are if you get 1 to 10, do one thing. If you get 11 to 20, do another thing, right? They're usually just kind of 2 binary choices, but we're using a d20 because D&D! I don't know, it's weird. It's silly and weird. But I also, I didn't really finish my thought, I think sacrificing lands for benefit is a cool mechanic, and I'd like to see more of it. I kind of want to build a sacrifice, a self-sacrifice lands deck, but I don't think it's worth it with anything that exists. There's very few that make that worth doing. So, I was hoping I'd find something that was not only was it you have to sack a land to do a thing for a cool effect, but also you got to pay off for sacking your lands, but I couldn't find anything. Maybe I'll look into it again later. This is not important. I'm moving on. Necromancer's Mishap. 9 black mana. Well, 9 mana for a black spell. It's 2 black mana, but you know what I'm saying. This Mishap better be good. It is a sorcery. Exchange your hand and graveyard. Then shuffle your library into your graveyard. Huh. So I have my hand of, let's say, 0 cards. I'm hellbent. And my graveyard is full of junk because I've milled myself a bunch this game. It's the end of the game. I spend, 8 mana? 9? 9 mana? To take everything in my graveyard and put it into my hand. Now, if I don't have any kind of, at the end of like, if I don't have any sort of, like, Thought Vessel or Reliquary Tower style effects, I'm just going to be discarding most of these cards at the end of turn anyway, but whatever. That's a lot of cards into your hand, potentially. But you then shuffle your library into your graveyard, which, funny to say shuffle, but I guess it matters if you had, like, order matter effects. I don't know. So you end up having nothing in your library at the end of this. So if you draw any more cards, I guess if you had some effect, like, first of all, you're spending 9 mana. So if you don't have an effect that stops you from drawing cards already on the battlefield, you're just going to die next turn. Unless you also could play something that does it this turn as well, but, like, that seems unlikely to me at 9 mana. Well, that's not something you see every day. Jace Beleren, witnessing a cartographical error. Yeah, that seems like the kind of thing Jace would do on accident. So he's just like, oh wow, someone else made that mistake. Sweet. It's not just me. Professor Corklar. Say what you will about, like, AI art and how it's just like a stolen thing. This is cool. Maybe I should see if I can, like, reverse image search this image and see if, like, there is a real artist has done basically this exact picture before and I can go follow them, because this is rad. This is super cool looking. I love it. Professor Corklar, great name, is a 6 mana black legendary creature weird. It is a 2/4, which reads, when Professor Corklar enters the battlefield, each player chooses a word in a language they don't know. It's another uncard. Cool. Honestly, as much as, like, it's easy to be like, oh, that's not a real card, next, I tried to get Urza AI to make uncards, and I couldn't. Like, everything it made was such a real card. So it's fun seeing uncards. I like uncards. I think they're fun. I like uncards that don't have, like, physical challenges generally, but I do still like uncards. I think they're fun. When Professor Corklar enters the battlefield, each player chooses a word in a language they don't know. Spells with the chosen words in their names can't be cast. Flavor text with the chosen words can't be read. Wait. Yeah, you're not allowed to read it. Don't read it. Don't read those words. So, first of all, we have to figure out what are words that are allowed. It says, choose a word in a language you don't know. But then, the chosen word has to be in the name of a spell. So, like, you just have to not know the language. So, if there was a word on a card that was from, like, a fantasy language or something, I guess that would actually count. Or if there was a word that is, like, non-English, like, I don't know. Does jalapeno count for that jalapeno sorcerer? If I don't speak, I don't know. I don't think so. Like, because that's also the word in English, right? Likewise, if you were playing in a non-English language, the names of cards are anything that cares about the name of a card refers to the English words. So technically speaking, if you were playing in non-English and you didn't speak English, you could name a word that was in an English printing of the card and that would count. This card doesn't work, but it's very cool. I have discovered a most peculiar magic. It seems to distill the very essence of confusion. Yeah, you got that right. Rancid Runebroker is a 4 mana, black and green beast merchant. Oh, that's an awesome type line. I love that. It's a beast merchant. It's a 3/3. Again, I always have to check the mana. 4 mana for a 3/3. Okay, cool. 4 mana, 3/3. Creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Great. For each black or green permanent you control. Oh. Cool. So it's a minimum, it's a discount of 1, but if you get any more, it gets even more discounted. Ooh, that's really good. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, you may pay a generic mana and a black mana. If you do, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. That's really good. That's a really good beast merchant. His wares are grotesque, but the discounts are deadly appealing. Amazing. Saint Traft is a 3-mana, white and black, legendary creature god. So Saint Traft is like... I don't know who Saint Traft is. I guess there's some kind of saint, probably. But, like... We've never seen Saint Traft on a card. We've seen the Geist of Saint Traft, which I guess is like Saint Traft after he died, I guess. Anyway, it's a legendary creature god. It's a 2/3. It has protection from black, and you can't lose the game with this card in your hand. Oh, wow. So if you're about to lose, you're just like, nope, I have Saint Traft in my hand, and you just leave it in your hand, and until someone forces you to discard it, you can't lose. That's scary. For 4 mana, gain control of target creature for as long as you control Saint Traft. That's also very powerful. So, sweet. Death can be reversed. Fear can be expelled. Huh. There you have it. Seraphic Engine, another one that's not very largely rendered, unfortunately. Seraphic Engine is a 4-mana, colorless artifact creature angel. It has flying, it's a 2/2, dang it, and it reads, whenever an opponent casts a spell, you may put a +1/+1 counter on Seraphic Engine. Pretty strong. For 2 mana, and remove 4 +1/+1 counters from Seraphic Engine, destroy target creature. It can't be regenerated. This seems really good. Anytime someone casts a spell, you're getting a counter. So this is growing. It starts at 4, but after 2 spells, it becomes a 4/4. It's got flying. That's very good. And then, if you have extra counters and more counters than you need, you can start blowing people's stuff up. That's awesome. What does the descriptor say? This card's prompt is a card that is a semi-powerful 4-cost artifact angel creature with a unique effect. The card was designed as a semi-power artifact creature that grows stronger every time your opponent casts a spell. It also has a unique effect where it can destroy a creature at the cost of its own strength. This card lets you say, you think you're so clever with all your spells, huh? Guess what? Each one just makes my angel more swole. And guess what? She's not afraid to slap that smirk right off your face. Or your creature's face. Whatever. You get it. I'm not rereading that. Sheep in Wolf's Clothing is a 1-mana white creature sheep classic. It's a 1/1, and it has tap, exile sheep in Wolf's Clothing. Then return it to the battlefield transformed under its owner's control. Activate only as a sorcery. Oh, and then it says what the transformed effect is. Big bad wolf, creature, wolf. Creatures with the type sheep can't attack you. 2/2. I don't really see the point of this card, but it is cool that the MTG card generator was able to generate a transform card in a way that is legible. Like, that's obviously not how you actually have a card in, like, real Magic. That it would be on the back or whatever. But, like, cool, though. Like, it checks out. Like, we can read this. We know what this means. There's a name. There's a type line. Yeah, awesome. It was the disguise that no one expected. Sorceress Swindler is a 3-mana blue human wizard. It's a 2/2 with tap, counter target spell. Create a colorless treasure artifact token with tap, sacrifice this artifact, add 1 mana of any color. That's kind of awesome. So, I am a blue player who doesn't like counter spells. The only counter spells I like are on-board counter spells. Spells that are like, you know I can counter you. Be careful, right? This is clearly way too powerful. Like, it's what, 3 mana, I think it was? 3 mana. and you can counter a spell once per tap, and then you also get a treasure. Like, this is nuts. This is just ridiculous, but it's very cool. It's very cool. I believe the person who made this made a whole bunch of these, like, swindlers and salesman style cards. I think that one we saw earlier, the Beast Merchant, might have been made by the same person on the Discord. I'm not entirely sure, but it's a very fun design prompt, let's say. Step right up, my friend. I've got just the spell you're looking for, guaranteed to work, or your money back. I don't know, that cracks me up. It's just like, yeah, I'll make a treasure token when it didn't work. So funny. Spellcut Salesman is a 2-mana blue human wizard. Looks like a goblin, but that's okay. Wish they were a goblin. That'd be fun. They're a 1/1 human wizard. Whenever an opponent casts a spell with mana value, I'm going to say 3 or less, you may pay 1. If you do, counter that spell. If you counter a spell this way, create a colorless treasure artifact token with sacrifice this artifact, add 1 mana of any color. This is the more fair version, right? This is much better, right? Where this one is a 3 mana, you just tap and you do it straight up. Well, this one doesn't need to tap, though. It only hits, like, smaller mana value, right? Only 3 or less. And you have to pay 1. But you can keep doing that. Like, there's no tapping involved. So that might be even worse. Especially since the first one gives you a treasure. So then you just sack that treasure to pay for the next one. Now, this is actually more busted. Never mind, I take it back. This is way more busted. It's very cool. I like it. Spells are my business. And business is booming. Amazing. Subterranean Exploration is a 3-mana blue sorcery. Search your library for a number of plains, islands, and forge cards. Put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. I don't know what a forge card is, but it sounds like a fun, like, land subtype. I'm into it. This just pulls out every plains and island and forge from your library. This is absurd. It's 3 mana, ramp all of your lands, but it's pretty cool. Like, a lot of times we look at cards and they are clearly broken, but that doesn't mean they're not interesting designs. I think it's cool. The vast labyrinths of Kiora still beckon to men from the more distant climes. Nylia of the Mine of Bards. The Mine of Bards? Amazing. Synergistic Salesman, another salesman, is a 3-mana white and blue human advisor. I kind of like advisor as a salesman. That's an interesting type to use for that. It's a 2/2 with when Synergistic Salesman enters the battlefield, choose 2 different colors. Target opponent reveals their hand. If they have a card of each chosen color, you may search your library for a non-land card with mana value equal to the combined mana value of the revealed cards, put it into your hand. Then that opponent shuffles their hand into their library. Okay, there's a lot to unpack here. First of all, choose 2 colors. They have to be different. Your opponent has to have one of each of those colors in their hand. If they do, you search your library for a non-land card that has a value that's equal to the sum of the 2 cards you saw in your opponent's hand, which I guess gives you some options, because I don't think you need to decide which cards in your opponent's hand you're using to sum, right? Like, if there's, like, 3 blue and 3 white, then, like, you could decide, I feel like, as long as it's a valid combo. Then it says that player shuffles their hand into the library. So my question becomes, which is just, I guess I should address, that's just, like, discard your whole hand, right? Like potentially worse than discard your whole hand, because you don't even have, like, graveyard synergies. That's just absolutely brutal. Yeah, 3 mana ETB, shuffle your hand into your deck. But, or your opponent shuffles your hand into your deck. But the question becomes is, do you have to hit for that to go off? And I'm not sure. ETB, choose 2 colors. Target opponent reveals their hand. If they have a card, do this whole line of text, then that player shuffles. Yeah, I don't think that the then is attached to the if. I think the then is just attached to the target opponent reveals their hand. I could be wrong, but yeah, I think this is just absolutely nuts. He doesn't just sell spells. He pairs them perfectly for any occasion. It is kind of cool. Like, this is the synergistic salesman, so it's taking 2 cards and then making something that has a combined mana, like the mana cost of those combined. It's a cool little flavor. Time Rift Connoisseur is a 4-mana human wizard. Love that human wizard. It is a 2/2 with when Time Rift Connoisseur enters the battlefield, you may exile target creature until Time Rift Connoisseur leaves the battlefield. Simple jailer effect. At the beginning of your upkeep, if Time Rift Connoisseur is exiled, you may return target creature card from exile to the battlefield under your control. Huh. That's really cool. Huh. The idea of something that does something while it's exiled is interesting. At bare minimum, you can just bring it back to the battlefield after, like, it can target itself with that. But if it's exiled and you have other exiled effects, you could, like, do some really gross infinite combo stuff, huh? I guess not infinite, because it still only does it at the beginning of your upkeep, but still. And only creature cards. Really good, though. You could even, like, exile cards from your, like... You could do that thing that red does, right? Where you exile a card from your library and you may cast it this turn. And then, like, you just get to put it into the battlefield for free if you don't cast it because it stays in exile and then this sees it. This is interesting. Time Rift Connoisseur. Cool name. It also has another ability that I haven't read yet. 3 mana, one of which is blue. Sacrifice Time Rift Connoisseur. Take an extra turn after this one. Okay, that's ridiculous. Exile Time Rift Connoisseur. Would this work? Because, like, you've sacrificed it, so it's no longer on the battlefield. Like, obviously you can exile cards from the graveyard, but it doesn't say, like, exile it from the graveyard. I don't know. We all know what it means, but, like, weird. Weird. Each exiled creature has a tale to tell, waiting to be set free. No, it's interesting. I think there's something here. Because it brings itself into exile. This is stupid. Like, the activated ability is ridiculous. The other ability is really interesting, though. Yeah. There's something really interesting about this. If you just removed the activated ability, I think this card would be really interesting. Uncontrollable Gibberish. Dang it. Is a 3-mana red enchantment. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player chooses a card type. Until end of turn, all cards of the chosen type are considered to have the text. This card cannot be cast or played. Huh. Do they have their normal text still, or is it replacing it? This card's interesting. So it's an enchantment, and it's each player does it at their upkeep. They choose one card. So basically what we're saying is, on your upkeep, you must choose a card that you cannot cast this turn. No one else can cast them either, but you can't, specifically as well. I guess the thing about this one is that, like, you're going to try and choose something that messes up your opponents more than you, but it's a symmetrical effect because it's an enchantment and everyone gets to do it on their upkeep, and that's kind of cool. But you could also just choose, like, Battle or something that no one has in their deck, you know, and just do nothing. Huh. Because I kind of like the idea that your opponent, like, is forced to not cast a certain type of spells because they have to choose one to ban from themselves. But not really, because they can just choose a card type that's not in their hand. Yeah, if they had to choose a card type that was actually in their hand, that would be way more interesting. Oh well. Some spells are just too absurd to be cast. Vanquisher's Flock is a 2-mana blue creature merfolk wizard. It is a 2/2, and it says, as long as Vanquisher Flock is untapped, it's a merfolk wizard. It's a 2-mana 2/2. The War Wizard collected samples from every lizard, griffin, bat, ooze, sea troll, sea snake, merfolk, manticore, sea strider, sea goat, giant, waterlogger, corsair, chimera, trench dragon, fire lizard, marrow, amphibian, terran, octopus, salamander, dire boar, wormling, lobster titan, flyer, vulture imp, bugbear, chimera, leech, scorpion, yav, roaring hag, manticore. You said manticore twice. Eldritch guildmage, whiffler, sand king, arbuz, and presumably more things. It doesn't end. That's not like a period there or anything. It's a comma. Cool. Virgil Guild Guide of the Abyss is a 4-mana black legendary creature human advisor. I love an advisor. They are a 3/1 with when Virgil Guide of the Abyss enters the battlefield, draw a card. When Virgil dies, return it to its owner's hand. This is pretty good. It's nothing super flashy. It's just like 4 mana for a 3/1, draw a card. If it dies, it goes back to your hand. You can cast it again to get another card. I don't know what to say, Miss Twist, but you may wish to know that I've done some work in the past as well. I don't know what that means. Waiting Room is a 3-mana white enchantment. Whenever a creature dies, if it was attacking a player, that player loses 2 life, and you gain 2 life. We have seen many terrible sights in the time we have spent in these dungeons. None are as terrible as these, Azera's dungeon boss. So wait, how does this work? First of all, it is a 3-mana enchantment. And then whenever a creature dies, if it was attacking a player, that player loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Okay, cool. So it's like if I attack with 3/1/1s and they get through, they do 3 damage. But if you block them and then they die, right? It died while attacking. The player who was attacking takes 2 damage. So it's kind of like a weird pseudo trample. It's loss of life equal to 2 as opposed to trample, but that's kind of cool. Also, if anybody does that to you, it's symmetrical effect, but you're gaining 2 life anytime this happens, so it breaks even on you. On your opponents, you're actually going up life. This card's rad. Waiting Room. Cool. Well, good job, Urza's AI. You got the final card, and it was a banger. That brings us to the end of... I don't have a name for this series. Urza's AI Discord review for July 2023. Join me next month for August. This was fun. I really enjoyed this. I originally thought it was a little bit cumbersome. I actually did a original draft trying to do it just from Discord, and that felt really awkward. But going through and pulling out the most interesting cards, the ones I thought would be worth talking about, not that I've read every text about all of these cards, just enough to be yeah, that works. The ones that weren't just a 2/2 for 2 that were 2/2. I guess one of them was just a 2/2 for 2, but it had weird text, so whatever. It counts. Have a good night, everyone. I have been DarcyBits. I'll catch you next time.